Good afternoon, I'm Holly and you're watching News Beyond the Markets, a special show that gets you all the news that matters for the day. First up, a quick update on the serious coronavirus situation in the country. More than half of Australia's population of 25 million has now come under hard lockdowns. The highly infectious Delta variant is becoming a major threat to the country's cities. With South Australia joining all of Victoria and Sydney in lockdown, strict stay-at-home orders have been enforced for large swaths of the country. Sydney is in the fourth week of a 5-week lockdown, while Victoria and Melbourne have extended stay-at-home restrictions for 7 days until early next week. South Australia has also announced a week-long tough curb on Tuesday as cases spread across its capital, Adelaide. Meanwhile, Victoria reported the biggest daily rise in locally acquired cases today in more than a week. 22 locally acquired cases were detected in Victoria, taking the total number of cases in the latest outbreak to more than 100. New South Wales has recorded its third biggest day of infections since the outbreak began. The new cases have surged to 110, of which 43 have been out in the community for their period of infection. The current outbreak is potentially jeopardizing Sydney's July 30 reopening plans. Amidst the rising case numbers, Prime Minister Scott Morrison has come under criticism for the sluggish vaccine rollout. The PM, on the other hand, is blaming the changing medical advice for AstraZeneca doses and supply constraints over Pfizer vaccines for the current situation. The PM said even if the initial vaccination plans had succeeded, Australia at this phase would still have to endure lockdowns to suppress outbreaks. And now moving on from the concerning coronavirus situation in the country to breaking news on the Olympics. Equestrian Australia has provisionally suspended athlete Jamie Kermond under the National Australia Anti-Doping Policy 2021. The suspension comes off the back of the equestrian rider returning a positive drug test for cocaine. Under the anti-doping policy, Mr. Kermond now has the opportunity to have B sample analysed. The sport's governing body also issued a statement saying that Kermond would be offered support following his suspension. On that note, it is time for a short break, but I'll be right back with more updates on how authorities in Victoria and South Australia are helping businesses with additional cash support payments. Stay tuned.
Property by 𝐊𝐴𝐼𝐼𝐼. Looking for a dream home? Well, that may sound easy, but it isn't. And from looking for a property that is the right fit for you in terms of cost and other factors, to zeroing down on the right mortgage plan, there are various aspects to consider. And for the latest slowdown in the property market, tune in on 𝐊𝐼𝐼 TV with me, Sage. I will give the latest updates on the property market as well as real estate stocks to help you make the right decision. Keep watching Property with 𝐊𝐼𝐼.
Welcome back to News Beyond the Markets. I'm your host Holly for the day. Let's now have a look at the latest updates coming in from the Victorian government, who have announced an additional $282.5 million in cash support payments for businesses affected by the latest lockdown. The cash will be paid as an automatic top-up of $4,200 for the hospitality businesses who have claimed support during the lockdown. Meanwhile, other eligible businesses can claim $2,800 for business costs. Now, this is split between the Licensed Hospitality Venue Fund and the Business Cost Assistance Program. Around 86,000 businesses have received these payments this week, as they were already in the government's support scheme system from the last lockdown. Minister for Industry Support and Recovery, Martin Pakula, said that businesses who were not eligible in the June lockdown should apply for the aid. On the other hand, there is no additional state support announced for micro businesses. So businesses with turnovers under $75,000 can apply for the federal COVID payments. On the other hand, Australia has also come forward to help small businesses during the 7-day lockdown. Small to medium businesses can now get $3,000 in grants if they can demonstrate a significant loss of income from the lockdown. Sole traders are eligible for $1,000. Grants of $3,000 will be available under the $100 million package. Next up are Australian retail sales numbers. The retail sales numbers slumped in June as lockdown in the southeastern state of Victoria and mobility restrictions in Sydney hit demand. According to figures from the ABS, the retail turnover in June fell 1.8% from a month earlier. This is the biggest drop this year, and according to the ABS data, preliminary retail trade in Victoria fell by 3.5%, followed by New South Wales and Queensland. Moving on now to the latest update coming in from Western Australia. This week, the state issued information on safe and sensible controlled border arrangements, under which various conditions of quarantine now apply to travellers travelling to WA. These conditions apply based on jurisdictions from low-risk jurisdictions to medium-risk jurisdictions. Starting with very low-risk jurisdictions, before travelling to the state, travellers need to complete a mandatory G2G pass registration and declaration. If travelling by air, one must wear a mask in flight, including the WA airspace, while inside the airport. A complete health screening on arrival is a must as well. Travellers also need to scan their G2G pass to exit the airport. No quarantine is required on very low-risk jurisdictions. Now it's time for a short break, but on the other side of the break, I'll get you updates on rules that apply to low-risk and medium-risk jurisdictions in WA for travellers. Tune in to stay updated while on the move.
We will tell you where the crypto craze has reached,
Where the property market is headed next.
what the world is doing to become more environmentally friendly.
Apart from tracking the daily market charter.
Be on top of the latest news and announcements
With 𝐊𝐴𝐚 TV. Welcome back to News Beyond Markets. I'm your host, Holly. Before the break, we were looking at safe and sensible controlled border arrangements issued by Western Australia this week. Let's now have a look at the rules that apply to travellers in low-risk jurisdictions of the state. Here also, travellers need to complete their G2G pass registration. G2G Pass is an online application that allows you to complete your mandatory registration and declaration. A health screening on arrival and the scan of the G2G Pass is mandatory. Travellers need to verify their suitable premises for self-quarantine at the airport. Wearing a mask from entering WA until arrival at a suitable self-quarantine premises or government-approved quarantine facility is a must. Now, these rules apply even if travellers are on an aircraft or airport premises. Travellers need to be present for a COVID-19 test on the 11th day if they are still in the state. The G2G Now app allows virtual check-ins during the quarantine after entering WA. Travellers from low-risk jurisdictions are encouraged to download and use the app. Looking now at the medium-risk jurisdictions, travellers are not permitted to enter without approval through G2G Pass. If permitted entry, one must self-quarantine at suitable premises for 14 days. If these suitable premises are not available, the government will arrange for an approved quarantine facility. The same applies to travellers from low-risk jurisdictions. Approved travellers are subject to COVID-19 tests within 48 hours of arrival and on the 11th day of quarantine. An unpleasant but necessary measure, as many of who have had the test will tell you. In the case of international arrivals, travellers must quarantine in a hotel for 14 days at their own expense. They'll be subject to mandatory COVID-19 tests on arrival, but also on the 5th and 13th day of quarantine. So not a great way to end a trip, and a stern reminder to postpone travel if possible. Alright then, that is just about all for now, but stay tuned with 𝐊𝐼𝐴 TV for more live market updates. We'll be back with more news on markets, economies and diverse themes and sectors. Holly Shields signing off.